Hello and welcome to another Spastic Kangaroo tutorial. Today we're going to be going over some more Ruby. I haven't been able to post any tutorials because I've been sick for the last couple of days, so sorry. I'll be back. Well, actually I am back, so yay! So, let's get started. Today the format of the tutorial is going to be a little bit more interactive. We're going to be using a command called IRB. After you type IRB in, you can write Ruby code, and it will run when you press enter. Today we're going to be talking about flow, program flow. And there are three types of program flow. There's sequential, which is one step after another. So if we set x to 10 and then puts x, it'll print 10. And this is sequential because it runs step 1, then step 2. And you can have as many steps as you want, so you can have step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, and go on forever. And then there's selection, which is when you've got multiple choices. And there is iteration when there's looping. Okay, we're going to be going over selection and iteration today. So, let's get started. Okay, so first of all, we're going to be going over selection, and that's when you've got multiple choices. So the most basic selection statement is an if statement, and we will do the most basic if statement possible. If true, so that's saying if true is true, which it is, obviously because it's reflexive if you've done geometry. True can only be true. Puts hello world. And it will print hello world. If statements are ways of, generally you want to check something with it. So you say if criteria is true, so let's make a variable called x and set it to 10. So if x equals 10, and we'll go back and explain what the equals means, and then puts x is 10. End. So it's going to print x, puts x is 10. But if we go back and say if x equals 11, puts x is 11, and it won't print anything because x does not equal 11, it equals 10. So what does this whole equals thing mean? Well, equals is different than equals. So if we say x equals 10, we're assigning x to 10. But if we say equals 10, we're asking if x is 10. So if we say x equals 10, and you'll only get this if you're using IRB. IRB has a debugger, and it will print extra stuff out. Like nil, you won't get that if you run it from an editor. So if we say x equals 10, it is true because x does equal 10. Does equal 10. So if x equals 10, which it does, puts yay. And it prints yay because x does equal 10. X does contain the value of 10. And you can also run this on strings. So if we say x equals hello world, and if we say if x equals hello world, puts the world says hello, and since x does equal hello world, it will print the world says hello. If we want to check if x equals 10, we'll reset x to 10. And if we want to check if x equals 10, and if it's not, we'll spit some other message out. So, if x equals 10, puts x does equal 10. And now you type else. And this will say if x doesn't equal 10, no matter what it equals, we'll just put something else. So we'll put x does not equal 10. But it does, so it's going to print x does equal 10, which it does. if we were now to change x to 11 and run the same program, and if we run this now, x doesn't equal 10, so we'll call the else statement. X does not equal 10. So you can run multiple if statements on the same criteria if you use the else if statement. So if we set x to 12, we can say if x equals 10, puts x is 10, else if x equals 12, puts x is 12. And then you can have an else statement after this, puts nada. And it runs this statement because x does equal 12. It doesn't equal 10, and it doesn't equal anything else. So now, let's move on to loops. Loops are what their name implies. They loop through something. They run the same thing over and over and over again as long as you specify. So now let's move on to a while loop. A while loop will repeat for as long as you say until the criteria specified is not true anymore. So we're going to say while, well actually let's make x 0. So while x is less than 10, so as long as x is less than 10, as long as it's lower than 10, we'll run whatever comes next. We're going to put x, so we're going to put x itself, we're going to put the number, whatever number x contains, and then we're going to add 1 to x itself. This would just reassign x to itself. This won't throw an error. This will actually work. So we can just add 1 to x. Or add 2, or add 3 if you want. But we can just do this really simply by saying x equals x plus 1. Okay? And if we type end, it will now run 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it does not run for 10 because this criteria is not true when x equals 10. 10 is not less than 10. So let's go over this bit right here. X equals x plus 1. Adding 1 to x. So while x is less than 10, well actually let's use a different one. Less than or equal to 10. So as long, I have to say that. So as long as x is equal to or less than 10, run whatever comes next. Now we're going to put x, and instead of saying x equals x plus 1, which is a little bit tedious and overly verbose, we're going to say x plus equals 1. So this is going to take x, and then it's going to run the plus equals, run plus equals on it, and plus equals will add whatever number comes next, plus x itself, and assign it to x. You can't just say x plus 1, because if you say x plus 1, it'll add 1 to x, and then when it goes back to the original while loop, x never gets assigned a new number. X will still contain the original x, which is 0. So we have to say x plus equals 1, and this will assign 1 plus whatever x contains. And it will run. Oops. I messed up the operation direction here. You have to put less than or equal to, not equal to or less than. I'm sorry. So run that, and it will say 10. Oh, because we never reset x. So let's reset x quickly. Alright, so now if we run this, we'll get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And we got 10 this time because we said less than or equal to. So as long as x is less than or equal to 10, it will run whatever is next. Now, let's move on and start combining these two. We can use a while loop and an if statement together. So let's first use an if statement, then nest while loop inside of the if statement. Okay, so if we say if, let's say x is 0, so we reset it from the original 10, and if we say x, if x equals 0, so if x contains the number 0, we'll run this while loop on it, so while x does not equal 10, so that bang equals, exclamation point is probably what most people use, but programmers use bang to call the is what they call the exclamation point. Blech. Tongue twister. I always found that one a tongue twister. Explanation point, I think is, yeah, okay. Stop it, okay. Well, x does not equal 10, we'll run whatever comes next, puts x, then x plus equals 1, end. Now what this is going to do is when I press enter, it's going to run x equals 0, so x does equal 0, so if x equals 0, equals 0, if x contains 0, we're going to run this while loop. And it's going to stay in this while loop until x does not equal 10. And it's going to put x and then add 1 to x. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it does, when on 10, x does equal 10, and it will exit the while loop, and then it will exit the if statement. So, and we can run one more thing after the while statement, and we can call it exiting, well, we'll put exiting the if statement. Okay? I did spell exiting, right? Yes, I did. Okay, and then we'll end the if statement. So now if we run it, oh, I forgot to reset x. And now, if we run this, we'll get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then it will exit the if statement. And then we can go on. So, this gets run after it finishes running everything inside the while loop until x does not equal 10. Let's make a while loop and nest an if statement inside of the while loop. So, while... Well, let's reset x quickly so I don't forget this time. While x does not equal 10, we're going to print x, puts x, and now we're going to check if x equals 5. So now we're asking, does x equal 5? And if so, we'll run whatever inside of here. So we're going to put x is now 5. Now if we type end, and we have to add 1 to x. Okay, and press enter. So it's going to run 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And on 5, x does equal 5. So it's going to put x is now 5. And it's going to run 6, 7, 8, 9, and then stop at 10 because we told it to. Okay, so the last couple minutes of this video got cut off, so I'm gonna have to re-record it. Sorry. So things might be slightly different, and I might not be on the same train of thought. Oops. Anyway, here's how to get out of an infinite loop. So, while true, that means while true is true, which it is, because true can only be true. That was overly complex. True is true. That's all you need to know. So while true, puts looping. And when I type end, it's going to run forever. And that's because we never told it to stop at any point. So it's true is going to be true forever. So the way to exit this is by pressing Control-C. And on a Mac, it is still Control-C, not Command-C. And on all other operating systems, it's Control-C. So that's going to kill whatever is running right now. You can run that. You can press Control-C in the middle of a program, and it'll stop the program. You can run Control-C whenever you feel like it. So Control-C is just the universal command to kill whatever is running right now. So the homework for this week is going to be creating a calculator. And before you leave this tutorial, I'm going to have to tell you one thing. That's how to convert data types. Because if you had tried to do anything like this last week, so for example, if I try to create a calculator and, well, okay, so number equals gets.chomp, and my number is going to be 10. But now you'll notice when it returns this, it's going to be in string form, because gets will take whatever you type in as a string. No matter what you do, it's always going to be a string. So what you're going to have to do is convert that. And I didn't ever tell you how to convert that, but I will now. So number.class, we can make sure that it is a string, and it certainly is. So all we have to do is say number.to_i. And what this is going to do is, using the toI function, I'll talk about functions, as I said last time, in a future tutorial. And this is going to be turning whatever number this is into an integer. Now, obviously, okay, so now let's just number equals number.to_i. So now we're assigning it so it stays as a number. If we don't, it'll just return it as an integer, but we'll never assign it to an integer. Now, obviously, you can't say, like, convert a string into an integer. It doesn't make any sense. And it'll just return 0 because it can't convert hello into an integer. It's not possible because hello is a string. It's text, not numbers. So we can convert to an integer, and if you had tried to concatenate a number plus a string, you're going to get this. Can't convert a fixed num into a string. So it can't concatenate 10 with hello because 10 isn't a string, and it can't add hello to 10 because hello isn't a number. So what you're going to have to do is convert that. Convert the 10 to a string. So puts hello plus 10.to_s. And when we run this, it'll concatenate it and say hello 10. So that's how to convert data types. So I'm going to be asking you to create a calculator using an if statement, and it'll ask the first number and then add it to the second number, and then it'll be able to add, subtract, multiply, or divide based upon what the user asks. Your second assignment is going to be to create a while program, an annoying while program. So you're going to you're going to have an infinite loop, and it's going to continuously say why until you say because. Now, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to say, while a certain variable is not doesn't contain because, and then you're going to have to check every time, does it contain because. And that's going to be using a while statement and an if statement. Thank you for watching this Spastic Kangaroo tutorial. I hope you learned something. If you ran into any problems, I'll be happy to answer them in the comments below. Leave a like, favorite it, and share it with your friends if they're trying to learn how to program too. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.